All things.
Everything is good. Now, as I always say before we start, I know some people don't like long introduction, but if you allow me, let me get into the introduction for the artists below, right? So, back in 2013, I went to a party on an island named Beckway in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. While at this party, it was a party called Rum on the Saturday, Easter Saturday, right? So, while in the party, a dude by the name of Colombian walked up to me and he said, "Boy, all the fellas are real fire." I says, "Yeah, thanks." He said, "Who's the DJ?" He said, "That man right there." I said, "Yeah, boy, that man looking like he has something." Now, funny enough, in the early part, Colombian was like, we felt a little bit intimidated by you and Mikey when they're playing, but we come back and hold your own. And it has been such a great thing to see how you guys have taken your talents and gone totally to the next level with it. And you personally, just to see what you've done with it, are always impressed with it. We're in 2020, and this was straight back from 2013. And I'm really, really happy to see the development that you've made in music and your career. So, ladies and gentlemen, live in the Groove one-on-one series, Mr. John Ricards, DJ Captain John.
I like that introduction, man.
Right,
Appreciate that. That was when I was like 18 then. I think that was the first ever Rum too. That was the first. That's when Beckway just started doing Easter regatta. Like the parties.
It was the first time the parties had already started to take the level that they did at the point in time.
Yeah, so, it was because it was the first AM too. It was the first.
Yeah, it was the first. It was the first AM and the first Rum, I think. Yeah. And actually, if I remember what Colombian was telling me, that may have been one of the first events that you guys did in total.
Yeah, it was at least less than 10. It was one of the first.
It was one of the first. It was one of the first. It was one of the first. I remember that. Well, I'll say first of all, thank you for your time, even though I know everybody seems to be home, but at the same point in time, I know different people have things going on, so thanks for your time. Off the bat, everybody has said Vincent is the land of the blessed, right? And at this point in time, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from the last I heard, has no cases of COVID-19 whatsoever. None at all. So, I mean, talk to me about that first. Like, how does it feel right now to be one of the few islands, one, that has no corona on the island, and two, do you still think that people on the island are taking the virus and the crisis internationally as serious as they're supposed to be?
Well, funny enough, about an hour ago, they released a press release that actually confirmed our second case. So we have...
Oh, serious?
We actually have... Yeah, so we have one positive now. The first case recovered, but they just recently received results. I think they sent about 11 tests to Trinidad. So we have... Yeah, so we're actually... We're not out of the woods. You know, we have our first positive... Well, our second positive case there.
Wow. And well, I'm assuming that this was an imported case because from my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you all still were allowing international flights up to like 2 weeks ago. That's correct?
I think the last international flight landed today. We had an American Airlines flight that landed today, but it was an imported case based on the information that I received.
But what's like the general mood in Vinci right now when it comes down to this?
Well, funny enough, I was just coming upstairs and I overheard people downstairs saying that how serious it is and the fact that people don't realize that it's gonna come and take us by storm. So the mood on the ground is there. Everybody's being cautious and looking out for and practicing social distancing, and the businesses are doing it also. So we are aware, even though we haven't started to see the increase in cases, you know, people on the ground are aware and being cautious and practicing the social distancing already. So it's there, even though, you know, we haven't been heavily affected, you know, people are aware.
Yeah, and look, I've been telling people that I think that people in entertainment right now, especially young DJs and people who have that platform, supposed to have their duty right now and a responsibility right now to tell people how important this is, especially if you're a traveling person and you're accustomed going to countries that don't ever shut down, and now they are totally shut down from this. It's kind of like a shock reality to see that happening, you know.
Yeah.
Have the people in the entertainment industry in St. Vincent really been rallying around to let people know how serious this is, or has it been, you know, touch and go? What is your opinion on that?
Well, the ministry actually started its own campaign with entertainers to spread awareness. You know, individual entertainers have been doing their own thing. You know, personally, I've been reaching out to people and speaking, especially because I am actually in medical school also. So I've been speaking to people and letting them know how serious this matter is.
Right.
But to understand the total gravity of the situation, I would say very few really do, especially in the Caribbean, how far-reaching the ramifications of this is actually going to be, you know. Yeah. So
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that in the Caribbean we live a little bit in innocence, and sometimes that kind of works against us.
Yeah.
But it's the onus is on all of us at this point in time to spread that message that there's a very serious situation, and the best thing you can do is stay in your house if you have no reason to be out. If you have no reason to be at work or in Trinidad and Tobago right now, if you're not an essential service, best thing to do is for you to stay in your house, you know. And I do know, hopefully, even though you all have your second case confirmed, that might be the only one confirmed, and then that person can come quickly and move on. And St. Vincent will continue to be blessed because, as I say, from one case to just one more case, that is totally amazing. I'm hoping that stays that way.
And but the sad thing is, even though, and I'm really hoping that we do remain at those 2 confirmed cases, but even though if we have no more, even if we have no more imported cases, the economic ramification is bound to affect us. Like that's how serious this is. Even if the virus itself doesn't affect our population, the economic ramification is going to be long lasting. Like there have already been mass bands that have announced that they're not presenting their sections for 2020, that they're moving to 2021, and I doubt that decision was made solely because of the virus. It has to do with the fact that they see the spread of the ramifications. So we can only pray at this point that, you know, it doesn't escalate much further than this.
And you mentioned 2 things that I definitely want to touch on there later on. One is the conversation about you in medical school, because that's a very, very big part of what it is I want to cover tonight. And 2 is about Vincimas and Carnival. But I want to jump back a little bit and get into a very interesting thing about you, that you are considered one of the best DJs in St. Vincent, but you're actually naturally born Jamaican. So you're a Jamaican that moved to St. Vincent.
I'm
so
naturally
the first thing I want to ask is, how did that migration work? Like, what was the reason for migrate? If you want to share for you moving from Jamaica to St. Vincent, you know, and
well, the move actually happened when I was very young. My parents found employment opportunities in St. Vincent, and the entire family came across.
Right.
So, in terms of me feeling like dragged away from my home or anything, like since I've known myself, like St. Vincent has been my home. Right. You know, I have a Jamaican family. I do have like parts of the Jamaican culture instilled in me because my parents are Jamaican. But I grew up in a Vincentian community, went to Vincentian schools. Like most of my friends are Vincentian, so it's my adopted home. You know, this is where I come from.
So would you say that you being that part of being Jamaican from before, was that one of your major influences into becoming a DJ or getting involved in the music career in that way? Or did you have other musical influences that inspired you to actually become a DJ?
In terms of getting into music, I've always been involved in music. You know, my family itself is a very musical family. I can't even start to count the amount of dancers and artists and musicians in my family. So I naturally gravitated into playing instruments at a very young age. Right. That's where it started. You know, eventually getting into technology and growing up in school and so on, you know, I moved into the DJing, but I always was pretty musical. You know, right. I played instruments, like I have pictures playing the piano when I was about 5, 6.
Well, it's interesting I raise that point because I'm trying to do my research before we go into each of these conversations. So while perusing the Hot 97 website, I saw that Captain John was actually a pianist that played and represented in multiple countries and competitions of the sort, and played in recitals and concerts. How true is that?
That's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. You know,
what do you consider the biggest show that you ever played for when you was playing the piano?
It was actually in St. Vincent. After our examinations, and weird enough, but after our examinations, they always used to have the examinees perform.
Right.
And I remember at Peace Memorial Hall, which would have been a large venue to me at that point.
Right.
Playing in front of my friends and family and everybody, like it was a packed hall. That's one of the more memorable times for me. That was one of my last examinations that I did. I think it was about grade 7. Yeah, so that one stuck with me. I can't remember if it's exactly the largest one, but it's definitely the most memorable.
All right. Are there any principles from learning and playing the piano that you can say could be attached to DJing at the same point in time?
Oh, definitely. The timing, a lot of musical theory and the basics of music are widespread in like you can carry them across several fields. So that kind of, when I started getting into DJing, and you know, you mix at the end of a bar, or you mix at the beginning of a first bar, like I was used to that because, you know, we're playing the piano before and learning, you know, about music. So
right. Yeah. Puffy had mentioned to me Sunday that he was actually studying to do IT and play tennis, of all things. And,
yeah, I remember.
He said that he just went to an event and he was playing some tracks in the beginning, and some guys heard him and was like, you know, who's this dude? And it's like, are you the DJ? And he said, nah, I'm just filling in now, you know? So give me like your earliest memory of the first event that you played in, if you can remember off the top of your head. And as I always tell people, like, you has always been nervous in your first event now. So do you remember the first event, and like if you was extremely nervous, or you went in there confident, like, nice, Captain John, the pianist, I could do everything. Yes, I could play piano and mash up the place. I could play wherever here and do the same.
No way. I remember it was so embarrassing because it was at that point, Serato wasn't even widespread. So we were playing on CDs. And I remember it was, you know VIP picks? Of course, you know Rico.
Rico
used to be a DJ also. Rico used to DJ also.
Serious?
Yeah, so Rico had a birthday party at this club.
That's
and
all
at that time.
For everybody that's on the live right now, if you guys don't know who Rico is one of the quietest cameramen in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's very quiet, very professional, but extremely quiet. And I would have never thought in a million years that Rico was a DJ.
Rico was a big District VIP. That was his DJ name, District VIP. So District VIP. I need to remind him about this because this is the first event I remember playing at, and this was CDs. This is long time ago. And you had a little dual console that you had to put in the loop and take out the loop.
With the
exactly.
Small jog wheel.
Yeah. So that I remember him having to help me mix because I could not get the loop proper, like the loop right. Like that's my first memory of DJing down at Palace nightclub in Lomans or Kittels, one of those places. But that's my earliest memory. It was pretty bad. Like if I go back there, I would probably be ashamed. But
admitting that your first DJ gig was pretty bad.
I can set up the first 5 were probably pretty bad, but
let Tommy laughing at you. So yeah. so people, Captain John has just said off the bat that his first DJ job was pretty bad.
pretty bad. Yeah.
But I mean every DJ, I guess, will talk about paying the dues and what it took them to get to the level of comfort where they are right now. Big up Mixmaster Gio, I just see in the chat as well too. And I want to let everybody know, if you have any questions for Captain John, please make sure and message us in the comments. We'll try to get to any questions you have, especially production questions, because they're going to come up. And if you're not getting through there and you find it taking too long, you can send my direct message on Shomari KRL on Instagram, and I will, you know, get to the question. So, yes, everybody has started to talk about, you know, paying the dues to get to some point. What was the process for you in terms of bettering your craft and being a better DJ? Technically and otherwise, like what was that process like? How your practice sessions used to go to, which is something that I consider very important in terms of how younger DJs should structure how to go and play music and what they listen to and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, in terms of starting to get better technically and like honing my skills, it actually started from investment, because I started as a school DJ, you know, like most people could remember me from being in grammar school and starting my internet radio station and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I remember like but my parents used to give me lunch money for weeks, and I take it and I save and stuff like that to buy my first console. I remember that. Well, at first what we used to do is me and my friend, I had another friend who was DJing with me at the time called DJ Feathers, and he used to save up, and we used to save up until we could get to $150 EC and rent two Pioneer CDJs and a mixer for a day and go downstairs in the band room and just practice all day. Like that's where we started. Yeah.
Right.
Actually saw him the other day. He's actually saw him in Trinidad. He's actually doing sound engineering now. So from there I invested into like an NS7 and just practice, you know, and I had the support of my classmates, and from there it just grew.
Right.
That's
right. I say, well, I want to make sure I'm getting questions, even though I have other stuff I want to cover, but I don't want to forget anybody. Mixmaster G was asking, do you use Logic or Ableton? So I will add to that. Do you use Logic or Ableton, and why do you use it? And for anybody who wants to know again what Logic or Ableton is, because I know we have people in the live that may not be into music. Logic and Ableton are programs or apps that we use for music production. And in case, which is something I left out of my introduction, because I'm sure there are some people here that may not know, Captain John is the guy responsible for their promoter, as well as some of the other big tracks that you will hear for Carnival this year and last year. So going back to Gio's question, do you use Logic or Ableton, and why?
I actually use both. For different reasons. I use Ableton definitely for production. To build the actual beats, I use Ableton. I find it's more user-friendly and definitely speeds up the process. I mean, once you get used to a workflow, both can be used pretty quickly. But I just rather Ableton's workflow. And I actually started there. In terms of mixing, I definitely use Logic more for mixing and definitely for mixing vocals and so on. I find it's more friendly for that purpose. Right. Yeah. So
I as I said, mixing and going back to the element of the entire DJ scene. One of the things I've found very challenging to do is actually to have consistent mixtapes happening either every week, every month, or ever so often. I have to big up Scratchmaster.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
About 6 months ago, I was in a real creative bind, and I'd messaged Scratchmaster to find out how is he able to put out the Shellings mix almost every week, sometimes twice a week. And, you know, he gave me some advice at the point in time, which, mind you, I'll hold in queue because I have a plan for that with Scratchmaster. But from your side of it, has it been difficult to do mixes? And I say that because you used to release a mix called The Charger. I ain't see a charger in so the charger dead right now. The phone dead, the mix dead. So
I got this question even during quarantine. Somebody was looking at me and telling me if I'm
because at this point in time, as Private Ryan was saying on Thursday, everybody right now is a bedroom DJ. And I guess you've seen where Ryan has put out a couple of mixes. I have put out 2 mixes, the lockdown series. Is it challenging for you to put yourself in our mindset to do a mix? Like, why for you haven't you been able to do another charger?
Okay, so the reason I can't do a charger Okay, can't. But the reason I find it hard to do consistent mixes, and this is a hurdle that I have to get over, and I'm hoping to, because I have mixes on my laptop, but I just find myself being like criticizing them so hard that I find it difficult to put them out. Like I'll be halfway through a mix, I'll be 45 minutes into an hour mix, and then be like, nah, I can do better than this. Like that's my issue. That's my issue in terms of releasing mixes. When I really put my mind to it, I do. Really, like I was doing the Charger consistently for years. The reason I actually stopped the Charger is because I wanted to do something that was more sustainable. Because the Charger actually took a lot of production. Like I used to build intros from scratch and like do live remixes and everything for the Charger.
Right.
But I wanted to do something that like Scratch could do weekly that I could do. And like after a while, I still haven't found the formula, but I am working on a mix series. Me and Colombian were actually having this conversation this weekend to actually do Team Energy Overload mix series more frequently.
Right.
So
yeah, one of the things I guess that has caught my attention, and again I'm trying to bridge the information with the questions for people that might not know, is that again John was part of Team Energy, is part of Team Energy, you know, is. Let me rephrase that. John is part of Team Energy Overload, which to me is one of the, how to put it, most young cutting edge DJ entities out of St. Vincent that broke a lot of barriers and broke boundaries to get to where you guys got to. Colombian of himself, he left the country recently. He flew out and went to Canada. You of yourself, very soon you are actually going to be flying out, which is something again we're going to talk about later on. How challenging has it been now to be able to keep that Team Energy Overload banner flying while still having both parties in different countries?
Well, right now we're still, the thing about Team Energy, let me start by saying, the thing about Team Energy Overload is it's gone through several stages of evolution. You know, so this is just another one. The fact that we started this when I was in high school, Colombian was working actually in the hotel industry.
Yes, he was.
Like yeah, so we've grown through stages. So at every stage, we've had to adapt Team Energy Overload to still grow while we actually grow personally.
Right.
You know? So at this point where he's actually growing personally and I'm also making certain steps, it's just at a point where we adapt the model. And we're actually, we've never really had an issue with keeping the banner flying, because one thing that we've always made sure that we do is we keep the quality that we put out high. We make sure that if we can't do a show because of personal obligations, the next show that we do will be one of the best shows that you see.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've been able to sustain both. So that's literally the case now, where we're moving forward. He's moving forward with his personal life. He's married and in a stage of life right now. I'm also moving forward with my career, and because of that, the dynamic of Team Energy Overload also has to move. At this point, we also even brought Swagger in. Swagger is a full-fledged member of Team Energy Overload still.
Correct.
On the radio daily. Like he's on the morning show on the weekends, and so the name is still there. It's still moving around. So that's actually what we're doing right now.
And look, you can always speak to the work that you've done by the people that you've inspired. I just saw Alex Cyrus. He just said that Team Energy Overload definitely inspired most upcoming DJs in Vinci. And that's the truth. I see Keenan Die Hard in the conversation as well. And he could also attest to something that you and I would know, is that DJs are many times their biggest critic. So even though people feel that we don't actually listen to the audience and sometimes we are in our own bubble, it's how many times we'll go and do a performance. I've seen it with you guys where you will go and play and you and I will stop in the same party after and be like, yo, the set was just, it did not work out.
That conversation after the set is sometimes longer than the set. Like the dissection of the set after, to know where you went, you know, how you did this, where you went wrong, maybe how you could improve certain things. That sometimes is more detailed and longer than the actual, like, going out and performing for the hour. And that's actually what matters more. Like, that preparation matters more. So I want to talk about that as well too, because again, we have plenty of young DJs that in the chat.
how important for you was preparation for each event, and what is musical preparation for event look like? What does that look like?
Okay, so I've been on both sides of the plane with this, because I've had cases where I've prepared too much and it's affected a set, and too little and it's affected a set. Like, you have to find a middle ground where you're not playing from a script. You haven't prepared to the point where you know what song you're playing first, second, third, fourth, but you've prepared to the point where you have not a playlist, but you have a pool of music that you know can be functional in a party. You also have to prepare to the point where you know the music. Because as a DJ, like, our job is also to keep abreast with the new music that's coming out. Correct. So preparation for me is a daily thing, because I'm someone who, not only from a DJ perspective, but also from a production perspective, like, I keep a pulse, my finger on the pulse of what's new, like what sound is trending and where the music is actually going. Right. So that is actually the start of preparation. You have to be there and in touch with the music, and also what the consumers, your audience, what they're digesting.
Now, speaking of consumers, because I said I really try to keep on the questions, because I get a real talk for that last time. That people be asking questions and we ain't taking any questions. So I'll make sure I do it. Team energy overload is synonymous in St. Vincent. And I know for a fact that you're also synonymous because of Hot 97. So I've been seeing here, which is a question I was asked, but just to set up that question, in speaking to Private Ryan and speaking to Puffy, both of them would attest that because of the schedules that they keep and the amount of responsibilities that they've had, it's made it very difficult for them to be consistently on a radio station and radio frequency, sometimes every day. So I see Smokey Bang here in the comments that asked, what made you stop playing on radio? So I don't know if it says you want to share your reasoning for not being on Hot 97.
It's the same thing that I was speaking about before in terms of the evolution to fit the personal life and the actual brand. I found myself at a point where I was finding it difficult to balance school and music, and in terms of the DJing and the production. So I had to make certain decisions where I had to weigh what I could pull back from to make sure everything was in balance. Yeah. You know, I still wanted to go out there and perform and travel and do certain carnivals. So in order to do that, I had to take back some of the time that I spent on radio. And it actually wasn't Team Energy Overload coming off radio, because literally the transition was, as soon as I stopped doing the Friday shifts, Swagger started doing them. As soon as I stopped the Saturday shifts, Swagger also started. And even when I'm in the country or anytime we get a chance to, you know, three of us are on the radio, me, Swagger, and Colombian as a full unit. Yeah. So it's not really a case. Like, Hot 97 is still home. We're always here. We're always repping. And it's never a case where, like, we've completely severed ties, you know? Like, we're always, like, Swagger is still on every day.
Yeah. So and that's something, you know, in the discussion with Chacha and people in group theory, we talk about, because even in my experience, I was doing my masters, and I was working, and I was doing events, I was traveling, and I was working 96.1 at the same point in time.
I remember.
It was becoming extremely impossible for me to be able to focus on all those different responsibilities, and a choice had to be made. And I remember people asking me the same question, well, why I came off a radio, because at that point in time, our Sunday show was like the #1 show in the country. But I don't think a lot of people understand that even as guys in music and entertainment, there are other parts of our lives that affect our creativity and our ability to give out 100% now. And as I said, being a biggest critic, you want to give 100% on radio, 100% in parties, 100% in school.
Because radio takes preparation also. Radio takes a lot of preparation also. And I found, because there was a point in time when me and Colombian were working 7 days a week on radio. And actually, at that point when we were on radio that much, I felt not only my selection, but my skills diminishing. Because radio versus party, they're two completely different worlds. radio is run by programming. There's a specific programming and a specific like pool of music that radio needs to have.
Right.
When you're DJing, when you're performing in a party, if you put yourself in that box, you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
You know, if you start to DJ in a party, like you're on a radio, especially an urban radio station that plays top 10 music and has to play it a specific amount of time. You know, if you're not careful, you're gonna start transferring that over, especially when it becomes a habit. You're doing it 7 days a week. You know, so I also found that was, you know, an issue.
Yeah, the grind of doing it daily. It does wear on you sometimes. You know. Moving on
I've seen people do it well.
Yeah, some people do it. A lot of people do it well. You know, I give hats off to the guys who've been doing it years and have managed to build full-fledged careers off of it. I also look at radio DJs as being an inspiration for a lot of the younger DJs who listen, because remember, they listen and they are inspired by that. Whether it's your favorite radio DJ or somebody that you see in a party that you hear in radio. So radio has been kind of like the conduit for a lot of young people to get involved into DJing as a career, you know? I want to ask something which I saw Selector Vibes Kid ask, and Vibes Kid is actually on the pulse of me because that was my next question to ask here. What was your real inspiration for getting into production?
In terms of inspiration for production, I don't want to only say that it was a natural progression, because I was always involved in music. I did always play instruments. But I remember there was a point when we started, I don't want to say hanging with, but the group of people that we were involved a lot of people that were into production and doing that kind of, like branching out into different areas of music. So that kind of influenced me to go into different directions. I remember London Future at a point was in St. Vincent working, and he influenced me a lot to get into production. Kubiashi, literally Kubiashi studio was right above the radio station. So you used to finish doing radio shifts and go upstairs, and just being in that environment alone is inspiration. So that partnered with the musical experience that I had just, you know, pushed me right into the realm of production.
Yeah, I wanna come back to that production point, but I actually see a question here which is really, really important, and I deem it extremely important because one of the things that we trying to accomplish with this Groove Theory online series is that we want people to understand that even as DJs, we are multifaceted individuals, and there are things about all of us that you would not really know if it is that you didn't know us personally. And it's to put a human face behind somebody that you consider a musician. So MC Pope Bad asks, can a DJ survive without subjects and without something to fall back on? I have a point on that, but I want you to give your opinion first.
I mean, several DJs are living much more comfortably than a lot of people who have subjects. I wouldn't put it in stone and say yet, but it's a big possibility. You know, the industry welcomes and allows a lot of people to make a comfortable and even more than comfortable living doing what they're doing. You know, so yeah, a DJ can survive without subjects.
I think though that one of the things that this entire COVID-19 situation has taught us, and I was just having a conversation with my friend about this before I came to this live, is that as a musician, as a DJ, as any creative or any entrepreneur who basically gets into a business for yourselves, you have to have an exit strategy and you have to have an emergency plan. Because I don't think any traveling DJ or anybody that relies basically on going out to doing an event right now would have been able to foresee that we would have this coronavirus situation. So internationally, events have come to a total stop. And I have friends who have been involved in music and they literally now are thinking, what is their next step? Because there's no gigs to go to, right? Having, to me, subjects and education kind of assist that process. Because to me, even though you can be a successful DJ in your own right, there's always something that you need to fall back on. That was one of the
True.
reasons why I tried to finish up my master's, because the truth and fact is, even though I had my degree, I wanted to go in a particular direction so that if at any point in time I decide I want to stop playing, or I want to stop traveling, or I want to stop doing this because my life changes, I have that music, that educational background to fall back on. And I real old school that. Like, my mother raised me to be like, well, you know, you have to go to school and get your subjects and yes, and all them things you say when you're younger.
My mom too, eh?
Yeah.
My mom also. Like, my mom was very education oriented. But
correct.
I also believe even people who have subjects and have full-fledged careers are being laid off. It's so I think
correct.
Maybe in the grand scheme of things, maybe we should focus on the fact that as a person, it's better off to have a second stream of income, you know,
exactly.
Preferably maybe not even in the same field. So me personally, my advice to DJs would be to not put all your and artists also, most people in the music industry, would be to not put all your eggs in one basket. When you're making money, you know, I see there's a trend, honestly, and I saw this more when I got into production, that there's a trend with buying Gucci belt before you can buy something more. You know, buying Balenciaga and so. And honestly, like, I personally think that you should make long-lasting investments, no matter the field that you're in.
Correct.
You know, and that this situation is just a testament to the fact that that is probably the way that these are. Like, I'm not saying, because I know a lot of artists do. You know, I actually had conversations with artists who recommended that, but you know, a lot of people should make investments into second forms of income. Yeah, that's
I totally agree with that. I think that, and as a lesson, I guess John and I want to impact on everybody here, that as much as there is the publicity and the nice side of entertainment, there's always the flip side that people don't see. And you really and truly have to have an investment mind. So when I was talking to Puffy on Sunday, I told Puffy that he was the DJ who had the global vision for everything he was doing, because he always wanted to think big now. But part of thinking big is understanding the exit plan. And you're not going to be a DJ, or let me rephrase that. You're not going to be in every single event for the rest of your life. Yeah. You understand? You're not going to be the young, hot DJ for the rest of your life now. At some point in time, you have to have a progression to something that will be able to hold you when it is that the gig's not as much, you understand? Or you're not in as many events. And then I guess you can attest this, John, because we had this conversation, Carnival Saturday, when you were here, right? I'll just share it with everybody. So I checked John and Quest, and John and Quest there. Quest is looking to go to Soca Brainwash. So I said, all right, cool, let me go. John fed up because John literally hits every single dance for the whole week. And I just said that point because even as an entertainer, sometimes you really get tired of being out all the time.
I am sure some people are glad, not glad for why, but happy for the little break to be at home and actually recollect and gather themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, a lot of people are just going 24/7, country to country, party to party, and they have very little time to actually just sit and you know, catch themselves.
Yeah, and as I told somebody, I honestly think, I was telling Chacha this as well, that this Kerry is calling this the Great Reset now. This is like the Great Reset. And to me, I honestly think that this will make people appreciate what we have more now. You understand? Because we have all been going from event to event, party to party, and we're taking things literally for granted. You can imagine what it's going to be like when this entire thing blows over and somebody have the first carnival after it's happened. Like, dog, it's
going to be huge.
Dog,
yeah,
dog. That is going to be like the biggest thing ever. You understand?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But yeah, it's true.
Back with John. I just saw somebody ask me a question before we came off to go back on. Is there? Well, I want to ask one part of that question and then come back to the second part. What has been, or who has been, sorry, your favorite artist to work with so far, And who is an artist that you are hoping to work with in the near future?
That's a difficult question. Mainly because everybody has, or from the artists I've worked with, there are certain things that I like about each one. So I can't really like wholeheartedly say this is my favorite artist to work with.
Right.
In terms of like the one that I was looking forward to work with the most, I would definitely say Marshall this year was one of those artists.
Right.
Voice also, even Kess. Like that's why I can't even start saying which one is my favorite. In terms of who to work with in the near future, I'm not really setting any ceiling to that. Like I'm aiming for the stars. We'll see whatever I can come up with. You know, I have a good bit of stuff in the pipeline.
Now, in discussions with Colombian, he told me a story that you actually sat down and produced that instrumental for their promoter, I think a while ago. And it was a matter where the instrumental was just sitting down there and all they didn't know what to do with it. So take me behind the process of their promoter. How did it go from being something that was on Captain John's laptop to the anthem of Carnival 2020?
Their promoter. I actually found the snaps the other day from the first session that it wasn't even the first session that I had. But one of the first studio sessions I had when we were working on their promoter. So it's been about a year. So it was in about February, March 2019 that I started building it. I'm weird when it comes to producing music. Like I don't produce music based on technicality, like the technical sides. Like I've never gone and said, okay, I'm gonna produce a song in G major and I'm gonna put a kick on every beat. Like I'm not like that. I more try to reproduce a feeling. And honestly, their promoter came about. Yeah, their promoter and Soul Chase Rhythm and another rhythm also that I haven't released yet came about in a time when I was feeling, the best word to use to describe it is emotional. So I was in a very emotional headspace, and that's the kind of music that I started making from the chord patterns, because I normally start with the chord patterns, and the feelings that I was having actually came out in the chord patterns. And that to me was the start. Their promoter started as the chords only. And I had that for weeks, like just sitting down and listening to it, and I couldn't decide where to go with it. And when I eventually started putting it together and putting the instruments together, got the guitars on it and the drums and everything, I sent it to Voice, because me and Voice have been cool for a good while now. So I sent it to him. I actually sent most of my stuff to him, actually, weird enough. Like I didn't even send it to him to be like, yo, you want to jump on this? I sent it to him just to be like, yo, this sound like shit, or what do you think? And he was like, yo, this sound real good. Like it took him 5 minutes to look at me and be like, yo, don't send this to anybody else. This is 2020. We're working on this. And from there, it was like we started working on it consistently in March, April, and we didn't finish it until...
It's our voice hold the instrumental. It's our voice hold the instrumental.
Yeah, immediately he was like, this is mine. Don't send it. He was like, don't send it to anybody else. Don't send it to anybody else.
Yeah.
So I think he wrote he wrote about 5-6 songs on it. Like it was a rhythm at a point. You know, he had a song, like he had 2 songs on it. And then, like I remember one day, he scrapped the entire idea and came back. And what he came back with was their promoter. And that same day, he was like, yo, I really feel like I could hear Kiss on this. And he sent it to Kiss. And by the night, like, he was sending me screenshots of fire emoji. And the man was like, yes, this is what we're going down the road with. So that's really where we started from, you know. Their promoter was a real good experience. It taught me a lot. It really taught me the difference between a beat maker and a producer. You know, Soul Chase Rhythm also. but their promoter also was there, you know, completion of a project versus making a beat.
So just for to share the knowledge, what do you then consider the difference between a beat maker and a producer?
A producer can deliver a final product. A producer is someone who can, because anybody can, I don't want to say anybody, but most beat makers can go on a computer. Most musicians can put together a beat, play it and everything, but it takes a completely different set of skills to now go and be able to relate to the artist, get the best out of them, then go and deal with the engineers, get the best sound out of them, get the final product and deal with the marketing, deal with the distribution, deal with the business end in terms of the publishing and the splitting of the masters. And then that's just a start, because after that and the song has been released, you have to go and push behind it for months. Like a lot goes behind releasing a song, you know. Beat makers, and before I used to take it as an insult, because I used to hear a lot, I used to watch a lot of interviews and you hear DJ Khaled speaking about beat makers versus producers. But when you actually do it, you understand the value of someone who can actually finish a project versus someone who can make a beat and have it there, you know. And that's really, like, I gained a lot of experience doing that this year.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
I'm always usually interested in asking artists this question. So I ask you the question because you probably feel the same way. I remember when I was working in 96, we always used to ask artists during interviews, when you go to a party and like you stand up there just vibing and you hear your song come on, do you like look around to see, I wonder if they're feeling it or whatever? Do you dance and get crazy for your own song? So as a producer, because I remember when you dropped the Morning After Rhythm, and from the time you sent me that, I said, yo, John, this is a hit though. This is a hit. You understand? So even then, I never told you this. Going parties and you hear any song play, I used to turn around and watch it to see, well, how John feeling his own song, his own production. So as a patron going to events and hearing your production playing, what's that feeling like? Especially when you see people, like especially for Carnival, let me talk about that. For Carnival coming here and seeing their promoter take off into becoming one of the history-making tracks of soca, if you want to put it like that. How does it feel to see that happening?
Well, Quest have me up for this, because Quest always next to me in a party when one of my productions playing and just sees me standing up. Because literally, I do not hear the mistakes in the song, or I do not hear the imperfections until it plays in a party. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, shit,
John,
I could have used a different snare there.
God, John.
No, but to me, that's my marketing research. I mean, I do.
You're critiquing your production after it become a hit?
after the fact, for the next one that come in. But there have been real surreal moments, especially this Carnival. Like, there have been moments when literally I've been standing up and tears coming out of my eye, like watching. Two I can remember for sure. Cabanal, the first time that Kes and Voice performed their promoter together, that was a really emotional experience for me, especially because of where I saw it come from. And the second time was at Marshall Monday, when Marshall sang I Love You right before the wedding ceremony, when he did that a cappella.
This is the Soul Chase rhythm, correct, right?
The Soul Chase rhythm, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that song definitely has a special place in my heart. That I Love You song. That was one of the ones that project actually gave me just as much work as their promoter to put together.
Is that because from what I've heard industry-wise, Marshall Montano is a perfectionist and he wants to make sure that when you put out a product, it's done with a fine-tooth comb to every single detail?
Yeah, that's not the only reason, but I thought I was a perfectionist until I started, until I worked with him last year. And it's something that I really appreciate, and I actually like paid really close attention to and tried to gather like everything I could.
Right.
It was the first time that I was working with an artist whose feedback was more technical than mine.
Right.
He gave me frequencies to tell the engineer to turn down in the mix.
Seriously?
Yeah, like, and his feedback wasn't, I feel like this could do, like a lot of artists give you that general feedback. You know, I feel like we could do it more punch in this mix. Like he gave me a paragraph long of, you know, raise a kick, you know, this kind of thing. And that was a different experience. And that, like the amount I learned working on that project, not only from him, but working with Skinny also, you know, even working with Conscience and Voice, it was so many different energies that came together, and I learned so much, not only from him, but like all of them work differently, which was shocking. So, you know, that rhythms and working with different energies and everybody's manager and everybody's, like I said, with the production, being a producer versus a beat maker, like that. Like I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning shouting Casey and being like, yeah, you ready to do a mix? Like he was mixing at 2 a.m. in the morning. Like literally, I did not sleep for weeks because I was up, and that's when like he was dedicating time to do the mix at that time. So I had to be up and like making sure that I could be there in case he needed anything.
I get that.
So,
I get that.
So, again, that's like all of that made me appreciate producers versus, you know, beat makers, seeing the project through.
Speak of production, and I'll be the first to say I'm also very guilty of this. So this is also my way of getting information as well. Speaking to also the younger DJs that listening. What do you think is the most effective way to master a DJ mix? And I say that because I guess a lot of young DJs doing the demos or doing the mixtape series, going to go in Serato, record it in Serato, probably export it with some program, add some effects to it, whatever. But the final product doesn't have as much punch, as much volume in terms of the width of it, how it would sound, as compared to another production person. So could you give a simple example of what DJ could do to make the DJ mix sound better when you finish it, instead of it just being doing in Serato and putting it out there?
Okay, well, first of all, you don't have to remix the song that has already been remixed and mastered. Like I find that is something I find with mixes. Like you hear an EQ or something on it that, like these people have already kind of spent their money to mix it, so you don't really have to put that much on it to get a good sound. Serato's output is kind of lower than what you would find though. So honestly, the most that you could do is get a good limiter. You know, I know most people know about waves, or I know even stock limiters in programs. You can get a nice limiter, put it on the project, and just smash the hell out of it before it distorts. Like just smash it until the point where it's distorted, and just take a little bit off it before that. And if you want to know what distortion sounds like, listen very carefully. The part that you start hearing it sound noisy, back off from there. Good limiters, L2. Isotope also is a good plugin to use. And mixes.
Right, and you see, so that is a technical question that I wanted to make sure and get out there. I of myself do some level of production, but at the same point I've always been looking for different ways to improve it, and I wanted to make sure that we in the Groove Theory group here share that with everybody in the chat now. What do you think is the biggest challenge when it comes down to being a producer in the Caribbean?
A producer in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Reach. You know, it's the same issue you have as being a DJ from a smaller island, as being a DJ from a larger island. You know, I kind of, when you look at other producers, I kind of came up fast. I had success earlier in my career, but honestly, you have to work from a local level into the regional level. A lot of artists won't listen to the tracks that you send them, no matter how good it is, until you have a hit under your belt. I've been told that to my face, like, wow. Okay, you have a hit now, we'll listen to it. And literally, like, I've not knocking anybody, because, you know, they would have their reasons, because from a marketing perspective, working with certain producers might give them more visibility also. Right. But I've literally had circumstances where I've sent an artist a beat and they didn't even reply. And then the next year, like the year after Trouble in the Morning, I sent them the same beat, and I instantly got a demo. So, not to mention, Trouble in the Morning, we actually sent to about 5 artists, 6 artists to sing. It was actually written for artists. So, I would say the biggest issue that local producers have is being heard. You know, right. Island artists and producers, because I know you can attest to it because you've been here and you've tried, but and you've succeeded. The fact that a lot of these artists here are uber talented, like they have been here and they've been putting out quality work that can stand up or even surpass the level of soca that you're hearing on the international market. Yeah. But they just aren't being listened to by a large enough audience to succeed. And yeah. That basically is the issue that I face first as an island producer. You still face it to an extent. Like, you really have to work to be heard.
Yeah. And I would say that one of the things I think we've been stressing in Groove Theory now is the unique sound that is coming out from every island. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a kind of energy to it that yeah. you're actually starting to be able to identify that song is from Vincent. Everybody's yeah. aware of how green it is. Trinidad has a particular energy. Barbados may be more groovy. It may be considered, I guess, a little bit more musical, but at the same point in time, you can identify when a song comes from there. So now is the time, I think, that we need to really and truly be able to brand and market our islands in the Caribbean, because this is something I've been talking about since I've been an undergrad. I've had that discussion in those theory conversations that, we need to be more on the Caribbean now as a yeah. package of all the islands as opposed to just one island in particular, because that is pushing forward a Caribbean agenda now, you know?
And that's the only way, honestly, that's the only way that we're going to succeed in these goals that we're speaking about in terms of getting notoriety internationally and getting Grammys and so on. A single island can't push that front. It has to be a united Caribbean music industry that goes and looks and says, hey, we have this product, this is what we're presenting, and not knocking or anything. Like, I still feel like the smaller islands aren't getting their recognition. And I found that being preached in Trinidad this year, when people are, like, I understand Trinidadian artists aren't really doing soca year-round, but soca music is being produced year-round at a high quality. So now to go there and hear, oh, we only do soca during Trinidad, like a high volume of soca comes out all year round. Like, literally, the music that ran Trinidad, Nasty Up, even that Caution rhythm, like those things were produced in the islands.
Yeah, like since May, June, around there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the island sound that went down. So yeah, I just think we're still not getting the full I wouldn't say visibility, because people are noticing now, but the recognition is still lapsing.
Yeah,
where we're being held on an equal footing.
And that is a piece of advice we always try to give to DJs in the context of, you need to do your island research. You understand? Yeah. I've been fortunate to have so many friends from about the Caribbean that have a general idea of what is going on. And as you rightly said, being the honorary Vincentian for the last 8 years, every time I come back home and I tell people, we need to jump on this, we need to jump on Nasty Up, we need to jump on Funky Business. And people watch it like, well, it's not carnival season yet, but then it's start to play, you need to be ahead of the curve. So just like how with the coronavirus right now, we're trying to encourage everybody to be ahead of the curve. That is the same thing that happens with soca music. I have a question here from Selector Vibes Kid, which is actually a good topic to ask you. I saw DJ Daddy Bubbles from Barbados is in the chat as well. So if Bubbles could comment on it in the chat, I'd like to hear it as well too. Let me get the proper question. I have 2 questions to ask you, so I'm gonna get to that question first and I'll come back to the other one. How do you feel about DJs using your production stems to produce intros, remixes, and so forth?
I have, well, off the bat, I have no issue with that. I'm a DJ. I'm a DJ Captain John first. So before I started producing my own music, I did the same thing. I asked for stems and I made my intros. However, and this is an experience. This is something that I've learned from, and I still haven't fully, you know, dealt with it. I don't want to say deal with it, but it is an issue. The first year when I did Trouble in the Morning, I took the stems. I took my approach to stems from a DJ perspective. Anybody who asked me, it was available for them, because I believe in that universal availability to music. I had an issue where people were making original music or calling music original using the same stems. I mean, to an extent, I understand the manipulation of music where you can sample certain parts, but using the exact stem in original productions, and also a case where people were selling the stems and making money off of that, like that, that's a situation also, selling the stems. Then I had an issue with that. The other thing I also had an issue with was like when a bunch of remixes come out too early, it kind of overshadows the original song. So I normally give it a little space in between.
In terms of people selling stems, which is something I feel like we'll have to take a whole session to deal with. That speaks to now the legal ramifications of intellectual property. And if it is that somebody's taking your creation and selling that, and you are not monetizing from that, that person's in breach of intellectual property. But then, as a producer or the artist, you also have to secure your investment. It's like if you buy a car, you have to have insurance in your car. So if you have a rhythm or you have a song that you produce, you have to secure that investment as well too. You know?
And that's honestly, that's why you see a lot of producers, and I can't, like, from a DJ perspective, I would have said, but no, from a producer's perspective, I understand when producers say they're not giving out any stems, because that's really the only way that you can avoid that. Like, you cannot avoid certain things.
Correct.
So, you know.
I get with that. Two quick comments. Hey, Rena boy. Hey, Rena.
Hey, big up, Rena.
Rena was saying an idea is to put together an album with artists from each country. It takes a team to move forward. I like that idea. I think technically we've been doing that with some of the rhythms that have been produced and getting artists from all different islands to be part of it. So I think that is actually part of it as well. That actually helps. So the fact that kind of a rhythm with a Vincent, a Bayesian, a solution, that helps. But I do agree that we need to take a much more collective approach to Caribbean music, especially soca. So that is something that is important. I'm seeing DJ Kingston has a question, and I want to merge that with DJ Darian. So Kingston's question is, any advice to young DJs that are trying to expand within the DJ music industry? And Darian has a question which says, talk about the branding yourself as a DJ with this new Zessin phase. No, I don't know how big Zest is. I have no idea how. No, mind you, I will say this on this chat. I heard a song from St. Vincent today called Teabag. Oh yeah, come on now. Come on, dog.
Yo, I'm not straight up. The Trinidad, that's what you call it. Trinidad is big in St. Vincent. It's big. Like Sonny and those guys were here for Climax, and they had concerts in the New Year here that were supported heavily. Yeah, but, so it's big here.
Well, all right, let me deal with Kingston's question. What advice would you give DJs trying to expand in the music industry?
Visibility, you know, content and visibility. We're all very guilty of not putting out as much content as we can, you know. So there has to be a balance between quality, yes, but also there has to be quantity so that visibility can be there, you know. I always try to put out, when it comes to production, as many projects as I can be for as many seasons that I can. You know, you see off the bat that DJs, especially Gel, Scratchmaster, Private Ryan, yourself, who do these mixes for different carnivals, they're in demand. So that itself allows you to grow. Yeah. You know, people are being booked from mixes.
And I think it also helps in terms of you kind of getting a comfort zone with how you play music now. You understand? Yeah. It doesn't mean that your mixtapes will be the same as how you perform live, but it means that you get in a rhythm of being surrounded by music a lot. So I think that is a big part of it. To go to Darian's question, which I'll put input on, and then you could add as well. Darian is talking about the branding as a DJ with this new phase, the new zesting phase now. This is my take on it. A couple of years ago, we had a reggae revolution. And then I was having a discussion with Private Ryan, not Private Ryan, DJ Adam, that in the middle of the 2000s, we had this soca EDM revolution. So then all of a sudden, everybody was an EDM DJ. You understand? Van Buren and whoever else, right? And then we have the soca taking off in a particular way. This is especially after Bungie Garlin sang Differentology and soca started to get more airplay and people started to travel, and now we're zesting. I think it's a matter of being true to your authentic self, right? Shomari, Redymix DMT, I've always been known as the island DJ, right? So I want to be able to represent every island. That is why when I got the call to do Dominica Carnival, I took up myself and I said, you know what? I think going to Dominica, even though it's the same time as TNT Carnival, is a new challenge for me, but I accept it. So I think you have to be true to your authentic self and understand what is the end game, what is the exit phase. Because if you know what is the exit phase, you know what you're going to put into what you're doing now and how far you're willing to go to brand yourself. So yeah, everybody's zesting, but I don't necessarily mean that you got to become zest too, because then that makes you just like everybody else. What going to make you stand out? You understand? So to other people, Selector Kerry, for example, Kerry is a skills DJ. So even though people see him scratching and doing a bunch of stuff, is functional to the DJ set now. So it's always going to make him stand out now. But that's him being true to himself because he loves music sounding different. It annoys Selector Kerry if every DJ playing the same thing. John, you can attest to that. So if every DJ come and play regular, Kerry's be like, yo, I'm out. He's be like SpongeBob and be like, yeah, I'm out. So what is your take on it? What do you think, what's your take on branding as a DJ? And what do you think you could do, or how important do you look at as branding in terms of building a DJ career?
Marketing is everything, you know. I remember I used to play tennis, and my tennis coach, there was a player who he wasn't that good.
What's this big thing with tennis? How are the fellas playing tennis?
Tennis was the thing back, like zesting is the thing now. Tennis was the thing back in the day.
All right.
But the thing was, this man, he was a decent. He wasn't that decent of a tennis player, but he had the newest shoes and the newest bag and the newest tennis outfit, and as soon as he stepped on the court, you swear this man was Federer. Like, the man was afraid to play before he was even there. You can, like, marketing is a weapon that if you use it properly, can give you an edge over everybody. Like, you can
sell dreams,
like Diplo, and sound like I don't know, someone on the corner. But if you look like Diplo and sounding even better, then that's like an amazing tool that you can use. But that's just the power of marketing. Like, marketing, you need to make sure that you're out there and your stuff is cutting edge and you have good ideas, and like, I actually have dived more into marketing this year than ever. Like, there's a science behind it. I used to think you go on social media, you make a couple posts, you look for cool hashtags, and you're good. Like, no, you have people whose actual job is to sit and make intricate marketing plans and direct you in the way that you can actually get the widest reach for your product.
Or as we call it, a campaign. Like, you have a campaign towards it. Yeah.
Exactly. And from the time I saw that there was an actual science behind it, I actually adopted that for a lot of my readings this year. Like, that systematic approach it's amazing. So I would say, you know, make sure that you research marketing. Marketing is very important for every entertainer.
And a tip which I'm hoping that everybody here knows, but I'm still going to share it at the same point in time. Use the statistics that are available to all your social media platforms. So if you have Instagram, there is the option section Instagram where you can see the statistics of who is looking at your posts, the time that they're looking at your posts, what posts are having the most impact, and then you could tailor your social media to the kind of reach and impact that you want to have. Because still, I think you could attest to this, a lot of people just post stuff randomly. But Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, these things aren't random because there are individuals internationally sitting down studying the statistics of these apps and these social media platforms to ensure that when them post something somewhere, they make sure to get people are not just seeing it, but people are interacting with it.
Exactly.
And that's
that point you brought up, when we actually went to post, the person who actually saw that and rely on that was actually Marshall. Like he went into his Instagram statistics and based on that decided when he was going to post, and that to me was amazing. Like this man has a marketing team more than like people out there, and he's going back to this to decide when to post, you know. So I had one question I bypassed. I want to get to that question quick because we want to wrap up in like 15 minutes here. Right. Jaden Colander, tips on crate building in terms of older material. What tips do you have on that in terms of building crates for Serato? Older material.
Yeah, in terms of older material.
Well, my favorite day on radio was Tales of the Crates because I kind of grew up listening to my mom play the retro stuff. But I would say that the same thing to learn in terms of building crates. Everybody is different. Really find what's more comfortable for you. You know, that would be my advice in terms of building crates in general. You know, don't try to do don't try to follow other people's strategy. Try to find something that you're comfortable with and that you can be comfortable with in the moment. Because in the moment, it's you going after drawing your crates and know where stuff is. In terms of like,
you gotta play off your computer as you take it. Yeah,
exactly. In terms of like knowing the music, I would say research is most important. Me personally, I learn a lot of like Shazam is probably the best invention for a DJ. Yet. I used to listen to music.
You go party and you see DJ next day poppy phone because song.
Yeah, and you listening Shazam. Yeah, what song is that? We just go and sneak and look on the Serato. Where you got that remix from? You know, research is important.
Vibes Kid saying, does Captain John have a team at this point in his career? Example, marketing team and so forth.
In terms of a team, I have people who I work with consistently. They belong to different companies and they belong to different companies at the point. I don't have a team to say that these are my employees, but they're on my team for a better use of words. But this year, that's definitely something that I'm looking to work on, mainly because I see the value in having people around you who can really contribute towards your product. So I actually, especially when it comes to the projects that I have to release and so on this year, I'm really looking to build a strong team that can help me, like let me focus more on the creative aspect, because that's really where I like to focus.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the last question that Jane asked. As I advise everybody, if you can invest 20 US or how much ever you can every month in a record pool. Because you'll be able to get as much music as possible. Right now, I've been using Franchise and I've been sharing a DJ City account with some of the guys from the States. That's been extremely helpful for me to put out the mixes that I put out. So I always advise guys, make your investment and join a record pool, because the illegal downloads and the YouTube rips, let me try to get away from that.
Yeah, the quality isn't there.
Yeah, the quality not there.
I fed up hearing Julian promos in
the worst thing is to go a party and the DJ playing and you hear Julian promos. Tell them,
Julian
come on, come on.
Man, just dash with his whole set. I can't take you serious.
Yeah, you can't take you serious. You can't. So I want to touch on something quickly. I have two other things I want to touch on. Let me talk about this quickly. Where's the state of Vincy Mas right now in your mind? Will Vincy Carnival happen this year? Do I have to call Liat and tell them don't bother? Do I have to call Quest and start to cry outside? Where's going on with Vincy Mas right now? Quickly.
I would say every summer carnival is up in the air, more towards the negative side. I definitely think mass bands are not gonna be on the road. I can probably safely say that. In terms of music, I've been speaking to a lot of local producers, regional producers, and we still intend put music out there.
Very good.
We still intend to put music out there. But in terms of the carnival itself, I mean, I haven't seen an official statement, but the word on the ground is that we're looking at carnival for 2021.
Okay.
That's the word on the ground.
All right.
Yeah.
So we work with that. And one of the things we've been trying to with Groove Theory is to show another side of every DJ that comes on here, because as I said, people look at us as entertainers, and a lot of times they don't see the other side of the sacrifice that we're making. So one of the major things about Captain John is Captain John is studying to be a medical doctor, right? How challenging is that, balancing to be a doctor, a producer, and a DJ at the same time?
I can't really say how many sleepless nights I had, because it seems to be the regular thing right now. I still, like, my daily schedule is studying from 8 o'clock when I wake up in the morning, and I actually took time off studying now, so it's literally until 11, 12 in the night. Bami knows what I'm talking about. So it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of a lot of things that I would have loved to do. I haven't been able to, but it's worth it. That's, to me, that's why I stick to it, because I get so much satisfaction from both. I get so much satisfaction from the medical aspect of my life, and I get so much satisfaction from the musical aspect, and that is what keeps me moving forward.
And there's something I've wanted to ask you, especially for in the time that we live in right now. I think a lot of times people take for granted the first responders and the doctors that are called into duty at times like this now. Being somebody that is prepping themselves to become a medical practitioner and seeing how COVID-19 and the coronavirus has affected everybody individually and collectively, do you feel like there's a part of yourself right now that's like, yo, I want to finish this and go out there and help as many people as possible because it's part of my passion? Or is there a part of yourself like, yo, me ain't going to do this? Only keep that there. I go and mix some song with Marshall for 2021 and relax myself. I mean, do you feel like a level of passion now to go out there and actually contribute in the state of the world as it is right now?
I do. Like, to me, I haven't even crossed it off. Like I intend to do everything that I can possibly do in St. Vincent to assist. That to me is my calling, along with music. It's to give and to give to the community and give to others. So I don't think in this entire thing I've ever been afraid, or I actually was joking with one of my friends today and saying that if the school actually comes and asks us, if we would prematurely be doctors, but we have to go on the front line, I'd raise my hand and I would go to help, but no, I that part of me is there, because it's my calling also. I actually would help in all possible ways. I've never shied away from that.
Yeah. It is a big challenge. I want to get to 2 questions quick because we want to wrap up very, very soon. DJ Kingston, I see a question. I'm going to get back to that about the Groove Theory workshop program, because that's something that we had organized at Groove Theory with the Groove University to do very, very soon. So when I'm finished talking to John, we're going to get to that. So the last 2 questions, Selector Sani, what's the best way to reach an older crowd as a young DJ in terms of social media?
In terms of social media,
yeah,
for an older crowd, well, you have to know what kind of that's a weird one. I find, like, especially in the Caribbean, a lot of the older people don't really use social media as much.
No.
Like we find them being more corporate and like being in places where we can probably relate to them from human interaction, like
Correct.
putting yourself out there. Like, you have to go old school sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I remember some of the networks that we've established as a sound system with the older crowds have been through playing at events and playing at corporate events, and entertaining them and showing them that we actually know their music. Well, not their music, but know a variety of music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say probably go old school. Like, go out there and let yourself be known. Don't rely on social media, especially if you know that that's a tool that audience might not rely on.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'd also say, to add to that, put out your content. So yes, even though Captain John's sticking on releasing a charger, and I go and be in detail about it now.
See, this might make me go and do it.
Nah. Put out your content. I've been fortunate from the Duty Free mixtape series to be able to hear people in different countries say, yo, my aunt was listening to Duty Free and she really enjoyed it.
That's a good point. Even last night, someone was telling me that I think Major Hype was live on Instagram playing older music, and they were like, they're tuning into him because he's playing music that we haven't heard on live all week.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. So putting out your content is important. I believe that. And yeah, I'm gonna say this out, might sound a little bit bad. Don't use John as the example because we still wait on the charger since however long. You see, look,
I'm putting out music.
So you know what, John, I want to challenge you with something, right? This is a challenge I'm going to put to you because King J said I put out 2 lockdowns so far. So Captain John, we are challenging you from Groove Theory to put out a charger mix within the next 14 days. Again, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Could we have a charger
days.
in 2 weeks? You see, Kotoy and all. Kotoy, everybody,
days.
all the people on Instagram Live right now. We are putting the challenge as Groove Theory. The musical people here, substance over hype, skill over hype, to challenge Captain John to release a charger, 1 charger, because look, Alex saying he listening to charger what? I still listening to charger 9.
That's
so,
like three years old now.
We are looking for 3 years, dog. Like it is 3 years. How much things happened in 3 years? We went from Obama to Trump in the last 3 years. You could give you a charger, though. Oh God. You could give you
I will work on it. I will work on it. That I'll take your bet. I will work on it in 14 days, and I will put a new project on it too.
Right. I so confident in you as my boy that when Charger 10 come out, we call it Charger X. It's not 10 yet.
Charger X. Okay.
Charger X. So that is the name of it. When Charger X come out, I push it, everybody push it. I go and get everybody in Groove Theory to push Charger X because this was a Groove Theory challenge there, right? So Charger X in 14 days.
14 days. I could do that.
You see, look at and getting advice on how to brand it. Look, Kotoy put the 2 swords together. So that is the charger with 2 swords.
All right. I don't get the artwork, so I'm working on it.
You're getting that. Right, good. So anyhow, we try to wrap up on time. John, first of all, I want to thank you very much for the time, brother. Even though, as I said, everybody may be home at the same point in time, we don't know what each individual is doing. I know for a fact that you're studying right now still. So when you leave here, I think you have to go straight to med school. That's what I said.
Yeah, I'm to school now to try put in a couple more hours.
Yeah, so I don't know if it is that there's any words you want to leave, especially young DJs with and people with in the conversation before you go. Anything you want to say in particular?
Well, first off, thanks for inviting me, because it's not that often that I get to have conversations like this, especially in a forum where other people can benefit from it. Like, we've had these conversations, but not for other people to hear. But in terms of advice to leave, I would say, don't think that you have to make gigantic steps every single day. Start with something small. Just start with it and be consistent. Like, consistency is the best thing. I've listened to things that I've done before, and like I said at the beginning, I couldn't even make a loop in the start, and I just built and did something very well, very small but very well continuously until I got to where I am right now. And I'm still doing that because I still have a long way to move forward. Yeah,
and look at that. I mean, we're going from Captain John, who just admitted that he couldn't do a loop before, to now creating one of the biggest songs in soca for probably the last 10 years in their promoter, and working with some of the artists who you as a younger person would be looking at and playing the songs, and now you producing. So as I've been telling people, I said this with Private Ryan, said this with Adam last week, right now the race is not for the fastest, it's who could endure. is more about the marathon than the sprint. And
Exactly.
even if it is at the point in time, you don't feel like you're able to make the impact that you want to make, do like what John has done and just keep making small incremental changes, and you're going to get to the point where you want to get to.
Exactly.
You know? Well, John, thank you very much,
man.
brother.
Appreciate you having
this.
me.
As I've been saying to Quest, we will be crying tears when the
Yeah.
announcement comes about Vincent Mas. Vincent Mas was the last case. That was the last. Because when Fusion at Thomas St. Lucia was cancelled, I felt it. I felt it here, real deep. Right? But Vincent Mas, you and I have been doing Vincent Mas since 2000 and whatever, right?
Let me tell you, I felt it from Easter. Because
Exactly.
remember, we had that conversation. This would have been the first Easter that we were missing since what, 2012, 2013?
2013. So that's would have been the first backway that we would have done since 2013 that we were collectively missing. And now nobody doing backway. Okay. But as somebody told me yesterday, we can actually use Easter now for the spiritual reason that it's there for. Not to party, but to understand why we celebrate Easter. So
exactly. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. So, buddy, thank you so much. I hope you get through the studies tonight. We will link for sure. And again, as a reminder, as everybody who's been in the chat has challenged you from Groove Theory, Charger 10, Charger X with the 2 swords in 14 days. Right?
Okay. For sure. 14 days. 14 days. It's done. It's done. 14 days.
Good. All right. Cool scene, brother.
Don't know, man. Yes, sir.
There is